And so I began to study self-made millionaires, and I began to practice what self-made millionaires do. And surprise, surprise, it's a little bit more involved, but in less than 5 years, I was a millionaire. Basically, from rags to non-rags, I say it, rags to non-rags, and I was a millionaire. And so I began putting together systems, and I'm going to share with you some of the things that I learned that can increase the speed at which you become wealthy. And if you will follow these ideas, follow what Andy teaches you, then you will achieve your goals much faster than average people do. So I'm ready, Andy. You and I have talked enough. I'm ready to give my presentation on how to become a millionaire, and you just tell me go, and I'll go. And I promise you that if you do these things, it will work for you. It will work for you. It's not. I say it's very much like a recipe in the kitchen. You get the recipe and you follow the recipe and you practice with the recipe. Eventually, you master the recipe so that you can go into almost any kitchen anywhere, and if they have the right ingredients, you can just whip it up. You can whip up the dish, and our dish, yes, is financial success. And if you're going to be financially successful, why do we want to become financially successful? The answer for me is freedom. I have a good friend who came to my office a few years ago, a very smart guy. He was a publisher in New York for 25 years, and they get a lot of really good material. And so I said, well, what are you doing with your life now? He said, well, I'm working on values. I said, really? He said, yes. He said, I've decided that everything in life comes from your values, which is a true statement. Your values are almost like the spine of your mental and emotional life. And you change your values, you change your life. Anyway, he said, so what we're doing now is this week, I am asking one question over and over again. And the question is, what is my most important value in life? What is my most important value in life? And it's very important that you know that, because your values are the essence of who you are as a human being. If you change your values, and you can tell what your values are by looking at your behaviors, because your values precede your actions. So anyway, so I thought about that, and he said, don't just ask the question, and love, money, success, freedom, travel, the easy ones. Keep asking the questions. What is my most important value in life? And the way you can tell is by looking back at your behaviors, because your behaviors are always a manifestation of your values. And if you change your values, you change your behaviors, change your results. So start off thinking generally, and then become more and more specific. And by the way, it is your behavior under stress that determines who you are as a human being. It's not what you do when things are sweet and everything's going fine. It's what you do when hits the fan. And so basically, I asked the question. I was giving my seminar, my 3-day workshop. I bring 12 people down to my offices here in San Diego, and we work with them for 3 full days to teach them how to speak. And it's quite a remarkable experience. But anyway, so I told them, introduced them to my group, and everybody listened to it. And I began thinking about it, and I began asking the question, and the answer for me was freedom. Freedom is my most important value. And I look back over my whole life, when I was young and poor and coming from a poor family and failed out of school and everything, freedom was my most important value. And then I looked at my behaviors and how I treated my family and how I treated my children. I wanted their freedom. It's very, very important that my children and my wife had freedom. And what is the fastest way to get freedom? Money. If you have money, you can do darn near anything that you want to do. So money is not a thing in itself. Money is the outpouring of a value. And my value was freedom, and the way that you got freedom was to earn lots of money. And I taught my children that, and my spouse, my wife, is I have only one thing. I am focused on them having the freedom to be who they want to be and do what they want to do and go where they want to go. And my children are now, I have four, three are married with children, and they're raising their children with the same value. Is that's what they saw, that's what they soaked up when they were growing up, is freedom. They're helping their children to be free. Why do we want to have a good education? So that we know what to do. Why? So that we can be successful, so we can have freedom. Interesting, Aristotle, I started to study Aristotle so I could impress people and say, oh yes, Aristotle said. And Aristotle was brilliant. What he did is he asked the question, what is the purpose of human life? And at that time, most philosophers were concerned about the gods on Mount Olympus and things like that. And he said, but what is the purpose of human life? And his conclusion, which changed human life, he had two conclusions. The first conclusion was that the purpose of human life is to be happy, which sounds really simple, but you can determine how successful you are by how happy you are. And if you're married, how happy you create a world for your family. And so basically, you can tell when you're on track, because it's sort of like those machines. When you get off track, they go beep, 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 and get back on track, and there's no noise. Well, when you are happy, it means that your life is properly organized. You're doing the right thing with the right people in the right way. And so therefore, and Aristotle wrote about this in a book. It's the one book that you should read on philosophy, so that you'll be, people will think that you're smart for the rest of your life. And it's called the Nicomachean Ethics. And Nicomachus was Aristotle's father. And so he said, he called his book, which was a whole series of observations on different areas, the Nicomachean Ethics. And he said the essence of human life is to be happy. And you are successful to the degree to which you can achieve your own happiness. And you can't achieve happiness for someone else if you don't achieve it for yourself. When I began giving my seminar, my Phoenix seminar, which became the Psychology of Achievement, when I began giving that seminar, people would say, but we're here to make other people happy. But one of the things that I learned is that you cannot give away what you don't have. You can't give away what you don't have. So if you're not happy, you cannot create happiness for anybody else. And if you want other people to be happy yourself. And the happier you become, the more happiness you have to give away to the most important people in your life. So there's lots of people who are miserable and complaining and everything else. They say, well, I'm not happy, but I'll make other people happy. And you can't give away what you don't have. And that was a great mind shifter for me. And so therefore, if you achieve your own happiness, you're much better at achieving the happiness of others. And I'm going to give you some ideas. When I do my seminars, I usually start off with a question. And the question is, how many people here would like to double their income? And of course, this is exactly. Everybody instinctively, the hand goes up. It's almost like attached to a wire. It goes, and it jumps up. And I said, great. I said, if I could show you how to double your income, would you consider this to be a worthwhile time that we spend together? And everybody agrees. And so I said, well, I'll give you some ways that are absolutely guaranteed to work that will make you a millionaire. And if you follow these ideas, they'll help you to double your income. And so everybody's now interested. Now I've got an attentive audience of people who are taking notes. And I say, well, here's a very simple way to double your income. And by the way, this is based on more than 40 years of research. I read all the research. I read all the books and articles and everything else. So it's very simple. You say, how much are you earning today? All right, so X, let's say you're earning $100,000 a year today. So if you want to double your income, then you have to earn $200,000 a year. Is that a good goal? Yes. All right, so here's how you earn $200,000 a year. It's very simple. Is you say, you're earning everything that you're earning today by the number of sales that you're making. And you are making the number of sales you're making because of the number of people that you talk to. And so therefore, if you want to double your income, you must double the number of people that you talk to. And lots of studies going back to 1928, if you like, for what they analyzed, and they asked questions: how many people do you, new customers or prospects, do you talk to each day? And the answer is roughly 2. Nationwide in virtually all industries, it's 2. And so therefore, if you want to double your income, you have to talk to 4 new people a day. How many? The second question has to do with FaceTime. And this is sort of my contribution, is that you are earning everything you're earning today by the amount of time you're spending face-to-face with prospective customers. So if you want to double the amount that you're earning today, then you must double the amount of time that you spend face-to-face with customers. And we call this FaceTime. So I say, if you will double your FaceTime, your income will double. If you decide to double your income over the course of the next year or the next week, by the end of next week, you'll be earning twice as much. If you do it over the course of the next year, you'll be earning twice as much. But it's very simple. Now, we don't know where your sales are going to come from. We don't know if this person or that person is going to buy from you, but we do know that if you double the number of people you see, you will, by the laws of odds and probabilities, mathematical laws, you will double your income. And I've had people come up to me after my seminars and say, this is a bunch of bullshit. This is California motivational claptrap. You can't double your income. I've been in my business for 10 years. You can't double your income by just doubling your amount of time you spend with customers. I said, well, look, I'm not asking you to cut off your arm or sell your home or anything else. There's no cost to this piece of advice. So what I'm going to ask you to do is just give it a try. Right? Just give it a try and then pass judgment on it. Okay, so give it a try for a month. What you do is you sit down and you calculate. And by the way, more and more and more companies are doing this, is they help their people to calculate how much time they're spending. And what I did, I was talking to the marketing vice president of this large company in Eastern United States. They wanted to bring me in to speak to their 300 salespeople. And they said, how's everything going? Well, we're having some problems. The market is down, economy's off, sales are low. And I said, well, your people are only working half the time, or even less. And he said, well, what are you talking about? I said, well, the average salesperson in America spends 90 minutes per day face-to-face with customers. So that's how much you're earning. That's how many sales you're making. He said, oh, that's not true. Our people are very well trained. They're busy all the time. They're all well organized. I said, well, they're still working only about 90 minutes a day. And that's the average. That's the middle point, half or above, half or below. And he said, well, that's not true. I mean, our people, and I said, well, look, let's do something. For this upcoming national conference, let's go down to the Army supply store and buy a bunch of stopwatches. And what we'll do is we'll hand out stopwatches to everybody, all the salespeople. We'll have 300 of them at the conference. And we'll explain to them that everything you're earning today is because of the amount of time that you're spending face-to-face with customers. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a deal, is we're going to track the amount of time that we're spending. So when you go in to see your customer, click it on. When you come out, click it off. And you'll find it accumulates, just adds up and so on. At the end of the day, write down the number of minutes that you spent with customers, okay? And at the end of the week, calculate it and work it out. He said, we'll do it. He said, but it's not going to work because our people are fully occupied. And, well, we went through, did the conference. Everybody's happy about it. Everybody agreed that they would track the amount of time they spent and that at the end of the month, they would hand in their records. And he called me back about 10 days into the following month. He said, I've got to apologize to you. He said, everybody handed in their tracking forms and everything else. And what we found that the average person was working 94 minutes a day. The average salesperson was actually face-to-face with customers 94 minutes a day. It's a bit better than 90 minutes, the average that you said. It's still 94 minutes a day. And they all agree that by gum, they're going to get it up. And the way you do it is very simple. You simply increase the number of minutes by 10% per week. So if you're spending 90 minutes a week, then next week it's 99 minutes. And the next week it's 110 minutes and so on. And so that's what they did. It became a sort of a company deal, and people handed in their forms, and they handed out who was spending the most time and who had increased their averages and so on. They said then the following year, they called me the following year. Following year was one of the best years in their history. The market, the economy, sales, everything else was in serious trouble. But for them, they were just smoking, because everybody, instead of worrying about the macrocosmic, they're just focusing on every day spending more minutes. And if you spent 180 minutes a day, then twice as many is 360. In an 8-hour day, that's going from 90 minutes to 3 hours. And so you're only working 3 hours a day out of a 90-minute day. Can you do that? Everybody said, oh, of course we can. I'll say, good, track it, write it down, write it down. Very important. I remember a story during the Vietnamese War, when everybody was going in to be interviewed and clarified by doctors and psychiatrists for military service. And they all waited in line. This guy goes in, you've heard this story, and he goes in and he's being interviewed by the Army psychiatrist. And the psychiatrist said, well, thank you very much for coming. Now, why is it that you want to be a soldier? And, oh, because I love America. And why do you want to join the Army and go to Vietnam? Oh, he said, because I want to kill gooks. I want to kill gooks. I want to cut their guts out. He said, I want to stab them and run over them. He said, I want to take care of them. He said, I can hardly wait. And the psychiatrist said, geez, man. He says, you're crazy. He said, write it down. Write it down. So always think of that. Write it down. Write it down. And so your job and my job is to track the number of minutes that we spend face to face and just write it down. It's astonishing, by the way, how much better you get when you write things down. Successful people always keep track. They track their minutes. They track their activities. We'll talk about this in a couple of in the hour that we spend together. And so what you find is people come up to me at my seminar and they say, you know, when I heard you say that when you were here last year, I thought that was a bunch of BS. He said, but I decided, well, I'm going to disprove it. I'm going to prove that he is full of S, full of you know what. And so I went out there. He said, I couldn't believe I doubled my income in less than a month. I've been in my business for 10 years. And in less than a month, I doubled my income. And I'm not working that much harder. I'm going from working 90 minutes a day to working 180 minutes a day. And he said, you just sort of get into the rhythm of getting started a little bit earlier and keeping going and not wasting time and bunching your calls so that you don't spend half the day traveling between calls and so on. He said, and I've never earned so much money in my whole life. So this is one of the things that you can do as important people in your business, is to help other people to earn more money, to double their income. And the rule is that everything that you do helps or hurts. It moves you towards your goals of higher income, moves you away. Nothing is neutral. Nothing is neutral. Everything counts. Everything counts. Everything helps or hurts. And so your job is to help people and guide them to do only these things.